We heard Dr. Rod give a well-deserved shout out to all the female scientists who've been critical to the vaccine development. And we know there are so many women who've made valuable contributions to science and medicine, including our next honoree, the recipient of the most coveted award the HBA bestows, the Woman of the Year. HBA's Voti is our industry's premier award recognizing an individual who has served as a role model for excellence in leadership throughout her career. She has been an inspiration to so many because of her leadership style, business acumen, and track record of nurturing and advancing top talent. And she is a collaborator in the HBA's passionate pursuit of gender equity and parity. And here to introduce our 2020 and 2021 Woman of the Year is the CEO of Roche Pharmaceuticals, Bill Anderson.
Well, thanks so much. And wow, it was great sitting here watching the passion and energy of these really deserving rising stars and luminaries. And I really appreciated Rod's comments as well. What a great day. I only wish we could all be together and we could have the high fives and the toasts. But I'm really grateful to the HBA leadership for going on with the show and hosting such a powerful event. Well, I only have a few minutes to introduce a most remarkable woman, and it's a task that's made all that much harder because of the profound gratitude and respect that I have for her. I mean, there's so many ways she is built into my life and many people around me. In a panic, I asked a number of them for input and courage, and this is the result. I've known Sandra for 11 years. So I can only imagine with you the early parts of her life. For example, when she was the church organist and a cheerleader in Creston, Iowa. Perhaps in those days, someone could underestimate the potential of this small town girl. Today, nobody makes that mistake. Before I continue, let me make a request to all of you. I know that many of you live incredibly busy lives, caring for children or parents, serving customers and patients, involved in your community. When you hear stories about an extraordinary person like Sandra, you might be tempted to compare yourself to her and find yourself wanting. I know I fall far short. Well, instead of that, you could simply enjoy hearing about her remarkable life and be inspired. And that's my request of you now. Enjoy. I'll describe Sandra in 3 phrases. Determination to find the right answer, epic tenacity, and deep and personal caring. Early on as a doctor, Sandra faced life or death choices for people with cancer. The high stakes, combined with her naturally exacting standards, meant that these choices had to be made with the greatest degree of knowledge, data, and clear thinking. That drive remains. Sandra is obsessed with getting it right. A few times I heard research scientists explaining their work, perhaps in a slightly patronizing way, over the heads of most of the MDs and PhDs in the room, but not over Sandra's head. She would ask 2 or 3 killer questions that had the scientists scampering back to their labs. At one important juncture, she needed to make a $2 billion decision with very ambiguous data. And even more critical than the financial investment were the ethics of treating thousands of elderly people in 4 phase 3 trials. Well, we called in the top experts from all over the world, all of whom had spent their whole careers in Alzheimer's. At that point, Sandra had spent 35 years in oncology and about 6 months in her new job as chief medical officer, a generalist. I remember as we went around the table with introductions, there was a sense of imbalance between these experts and the newbie, Sandra. They spoke to Sandra a bit slower and with fewer technical terms and acronyms at first, as if to say, let us explain the basics to you. But that didn't last long. She seemed to have read every Alzheimer's paper published in the past 20 years and was immediately asking them to explain inconsistencies in their findings and how those bore on the decision at hand. That was an important day for the field, and I hope next year it will prove to be a breakthrough day. And it was all driven by Sandra's determination to find the right answer. Epic tenacity. It's very impressive that Sandra cared for people with cancer at Stanford for 28 years, along the way authoring over 300 papers and leading a number of practice-changing clinical studies. It's impressive that she served as president of ASCO. Personally, I'm just so grateful that she then spent a decade at Genentech and Roche and served as CMO for the approval of 15 new medicines. I don't have to tell this audience that Sandra had to navigate or break down plenty of obstacles along the way. But when it comes to epic tenacity, let me share this. In 1981 and again in 1984, Sandra was first author on studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The first of those was 40 years ago, and Sandra is still going stronger than ever. But most amazingly, in 1981 and 1984, not only did Sandra deliver important scientific advances to the world, she also delivered 2 wonderful baby boys into the world. Deep personal caring. I mentioned Sandra's determination to find the best answer. Nowhere is this more important than when it comes to helping people. Perhaps it was Sandra's very personal experiences with cancer, which took her father at a young age and threatened her own life as a mother of teenage boys. If you call her, even when Sandra is in the midst of accomplishing some world-changing feat, she will literally drop everything and give you her undivided attention. As committed as Sandra is to making a better world, she's even more committed to helping the patient or the person sitting right in front of her. In the hour of the big business decision, she's all business. But as a colleague, she's warm, witty, caring. You can't work closely with her without experiencing a lot of laughter together and surely some tears too. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from some of those closest to Sandra.
In her early years, she had this goal of becoming a physician. I think there were 2 goals in her life. And first was her medical profession, and the second was to her family, to be a parent, which she succeeded in both.
Sandra has been a terrific mother. Her 2 boys love her deeply. She inspires them. They look up to her, as does her husband.
I have vivid memories of being a little kid and waking up in the morning and she was already typing in the office next door, and she was usually typing when I went to bed. And I remember being embarrassed as a medical resident in my training because my mother was outworking me, and I think that might still be true right now.
Sandra is definitely at her most passionate when she's talking about patients. And it's this combination of her pioneering spirit and the benefit to patients that really lights her up.
She can recall individual patients that she treated in the clinic, and more importantly, those that she felt she couldn't treat. And that has driven her to look for innovative solutions for those patients specifically, her entire career.
Sandra not only made a difference in our company and not only was a role model for all of us, but she did amazing things for patients and their families. She gave them hope.
When you see the commitment, determination, and thoughtfulness that she puts into everything, it really makes you want to be the same way.
I'm just totally amazed with the brilliant mind, the level of commitment, and the strong values, integrity, and caring that she always brought throughout her career at Genentech and Roche.
Sandra's intellectual capacity is for sure her superpower. Not only her breadth, but the depth on any topic is just so impressive.
Her courage to speak her truth, to speak up and challenge, even when it was unpopular, and she always put her voice out in service of patients and society.
There is no leader more committed to doing what's right for patients than Sandra.
Well, Sandra's been a trailblazer in science by being involved on the front lines of new ways to treat cancer with interferons, then with rituximab, and then many other projects in the last decade in her time at Genentech and Roche. An amazing lifetime contribution.
I'm deeply impressed with how you, Sandra, in all your activities, always put the priority on doing what is right for patients. This makes you an inspiring role model for leaders within our industry.
I feel so blessed and inspired to have known Sandra Horney.
Sandra is grace,
a life force for life sciences.
Incredibly inspiring.
A true gift to our industry.
A legend in her own lifetime.
Congratulations, Sandra, for being the Woman of the Year.
Friends and family, please welcome our 2021 HBA Woman of the Year, Dr. Sandra Horning.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Bill, for that wonderful introduction. And let me say, it's a real privilege to be here in the company of inspirational leaders like Susan and Rod. I'm deeply honored and humbled to receive this award. Humbled because I must admit to all of you, the path to the 2021 WOTY wasn't smooth. It was bumpy. Let me tell you more. Dial back to late 2009, when I was a tenured professor at Stanford University, auditioning for the role of Global Head of Oncology Clinical Science at Genentech Roche. Upon completing a lecture to a few hundred people on the Genentech campus, in my area of international expertise, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, to my amazement, the first question from the audience was not about the science, but rather, what makes you think you are qualified for this job? Mind you, this was not the voice in my head, the one you can all relate to, but a publicly stated concern that I wasn't up to the job. Yes, it stung. Yes, it was not unfamiliar, as I had experienced such concerns throughout medical training and while ascending the academic ladder. And also, yes, it was another powerful motivator to meet the challenge. I tell you this because I've learned you can't let others' underestimation limit you. And more importantly, don't underestimate yourself. My message to you today is you can follow your passion to do great work, whatever you do in your career or wherever you are in the evolution of your career. My interest in medicine, science, and health was kindled as a small child, exposed to personal and family health issues, including deaths, in a rural Iowa town. Medicine seemed both mysterious and powerful, and I was struck by the gender divide in medical care. All the doctors were men, and all the nurses were women. That didn't seem right. I latched onto the dream of being a doctor. And despite little belief that a girl in those times would realize it, I eventually made my way to medical school. Only a few weeks into my studies, I found my passion. I was memorizing human anatomy at home for the weekend in order to be with Dad during his terminal cancer as much as possible. When I was jolted by my mother's cry, "Sandra!" I raced to the top of the stairs and I saw my mother slumped to the floor with my collapsed father in her arms. From that day to this day, that vision has driven my passion and most of the important decisions in life, my commitment to significantly lessen the physical, emotional, and economic consequences of serious illness. In many ways, my father, who soon thereafter lost his battle, was my patient one. Pursuing my passion led to many uncomfortable moments, especially in the early years. Recently, I became reacquainted with a former Stanford trainee, now the head of one of the most prestigious biomedical research institutions in the world. Years ago, we were both fired by a patient's wife who was put off by our appearance. He Asian and me female, and our youth. This dismissal was devastating. I remember crying right there in the ward at Stanford Hospital. These and other moments where I experienced disrespect or fell short of a personal goal, like failing to get a grant or to be selected for an academic honor, were painful. But they were also opportunities. Opportunities to reflect on what's important, where I needed to focus, and why I was determined to persist. Following your passion isn't just for the uber-talented or the fortunate. It's for all of you who persevere, determined to achieve your goals. Don't let others underestimate you. Don't underestimate yourself. Clinical research, practicing medicine, and teaching at Stanford occupied most of my professional career, and I loved it. In mastering their care, my patients gave me a great gift. Their stories and experiences that I continue to carry in my head and heart. These are a bright North Star guiding my decision-making in industry and beyond. The passion for making a difference, having impact, and what still felt like unfinished business for patient one, my dad, fueled a late career move from Stanford to Genentech Roche, where I had no doubt that the next 10 years would be a golden age of oncology. While I enjoyed the good fortune of network, timing, location, and opportunity, I was also giving up a prestigious tenured faculty position and international recognition in my area of expertise. I call this giving up to get. To follow your passion along the path of great work, you often need to let go, get vulnerable, and risk embarrassment or failure. This requires struggle and sacrifice, but there's also a certain lightness of being, in being a beginner again, focusing on today and growing. After 4 years as head of oncology clinical science, I had the opportunity to become the global head of product development and chief medical officer at Genentech Roche. Once again, I faced challenges of others' estimation of me and my own estimation of myself. As part of a new manager assessment, the facilitator provided me verbatim comments from my inherited leadership team. Immediately, I zeroed in on the comment, "One element of the R&D organization doesn't think Sandra has the requisite technical or leadership skills." Wow, that was another sting, and one in tune with my inner voice questioning whether I was truly worthy. Was I good enough? Well, the truth is, I had a lot to learn about the full spectrum of development, leadership, and the business. But I believed I could get smarter. I trusted myself and had the confidence to persevere, to follow my passion. I told myself I'd made a successful transition from academia to industry, and I could do it again. This was my approach. First, I engaged a coach to tell me the cold, hard truths. She implored me to take the mask off, and mind you, this was pre-COVID, and let people see my imperfections. Get naked. Turn your conversations into performances. No, turn your performances into conversations. Show your quirks and that corny Iowa sense of humor. Of course, she was speaking to authenticity and reality. When I exclaimed that I didn't fit the mold of an executive leader, she retorted, "You can be a different model for an executive leader." Could I really be myself? Second, I became a scholar of leadership in the same way as I approach medicine and science, studying decision-making and analysis, building my business acumen, and looking for and nurturing greatness in others. And yes, I'm enormously proud of the achievements of 15 new medicines approved, 28 breakthrough designations, marked gains in efficiency, and leading a world-class PD organization with a top talent leadership team that became female majority. But I recite these accomplishments also with the humility of missed opportunities, mistakes, and misjudgments along the way. In fact, when pushed out of your comfort zone into new and difficult areas, you can change your mindset. You can establish new and stronger brain connections, and you can get smarter. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck has done some amazing research where she studied substituting a grade of not yet rather than a failing grade for student assignments. Students who believe they can improve rather than thinking they aren't smart enough or not worthy demonstrate remarkable improvement in performance. In fact, they often outperform the most talented, nurtured students. At many steps in my career, I deserved a grade of not yet, but I was able to progress with a combination of passion toward a goal, perseverance, and a mindset of belief that I could grow, learn, and problem solve. In 2020, I moved into the next chapter, serving on corporate boards, where I was again not yet comfortable in a new role with much to learn, but exhilarated by the opportunity for impact. And what a great experience to participate in the development and distribution of effective COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutics to a waiting world and in record time. I wonder how many of you are at or anticipating a not yet moment in your career. Per its mission, the HBA offers many opportunities and wonderful resources for you to achieve personal greatness and find the greatness in others and lead at the highest levels. By believing in you and harnessing the power of your belief in yourself, HBA encourages your growth and the intentionality to realize your dreams. HBA's work to unleash the enormous potential of gender parity in leadership is important, in fact, vital. More than ever, I believe that rich and representative female leadership at the executive, C-suite, and board levels will redefine gender stereotypes and lead to better decisions and business performance. The breadth and depth of experience in a diverse talent pool of leaders, prominently featuring people of color, is an essential ingredient in the special sauce of healthcare innovation. Well, life and work during this pandemic tested our resolve and resilience, especially women with caregiving responsibilities. We've questioned our personal identities, priorities, and strategies. Sometimes, circumstances require an unanticipated career detour or even a hiatus, and not yet can take on a whole new meaning. Here, I'm inspired by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who said, "Over my lifespan, I think I've had it all, but in different periods of time, things were rough." She's saying you can have it all, not just all at once. Rough patches, bumps, and doubts are part of every journey in life. Think of HBA as your constant throughout, advocating for you and fortifying you for that next not yet career moment. I would not be here today without an army of people who believed in me, mentored and supported me, opened doors, and provided opportunity. Saul Rosenberg, Hal Barron, Dan O'Day, each took a chance on me when I was not yet. My wonderful family, my 98-year-old mother and model of perseverance. My husband, Richard, who reminds me every day of the privilege of being married for 40 years to a truly stable genius. My adult sons, Jordan and Jared, my daughter-in-law, Gopika, and grandchildren, Maya and Jay. Thank you for helping me to balance our crazy lives through the years. And, as reminders of the bumps, the highs and lows of my journey, I'm wearing a necklace my father gave me for high school graduation. He has provided the inspiration that has driven my career. My earrings from India honor my biracial grandchildren and our promising future. The last time I wore this pink suit was 1997, when I addressed an audience of thousands at the annual meeting of the American Society of Clinical Oncology, presenting while receiving chemotherapy and wearing a red wig. The suit reminds me of all the life I've enjoyed over the past 24 years after cancer diagnosis and treatment. This is my wish for all present and future patients. I would like to remind all of you, as well as I frequently did in my years at Genentech Roche, that patients are waiting. The business of healthcare is a privilege because you can do so much good for so many. Please do it with a sense of urgency. 2020 has surely taught us this. In his famous Stanford commencement address, Steve Jobs reminded the graduates that their time is also limited. He exhorted them to move fast, fail fast, and craft a life as they want it to be. Our shared experience with COVID has only underscored this. So please, enjoy this Wodi event, but then rise above your self-doubt and the underestimation of others to follow your passion to do great work. Patients are waiting. Thank you.